The desert stretches endlessly, a vast canvas of sand and stone that seems to swallow sound and time alike. As the sun dips below the horizon, the warm amber of the daylight softens into the gentle purples and silvers of twilight. A quiet wind stirs the dunes, carrying with it the faint, almost imperceptible scent of sagebrush and dry earth. In this stillness, there is a sense of being suspended between two worlds, the tangible one you can touch and see, and another, quieter realm that seems to hide just beyond sight. It is here, in the soft hush of Nevada's remote expanses, that secrets wait, silent and patient, like shadows in a dream. The mind, naturally attuned to patterns and possibilities, begins to notice subtle irregularities. A distant ridge appears more angular than the wind-sculpted landscape would suggest. Tiny flickers of light in the far distance vanish before they can be fully perceived. The desert, so often described as empty, feels instead like a living presence, one that observes without judgment, that holds memories in its folds. Legends passed down by the few who have lived near these lands speak of strange craft in the sky, of hums that vibrate through the soles of shoes, of brief glimpses of structures that vanish when approached. These stories are whispered, never shouted, carried by the soft winds into the ears of those willing to listen with quiet attention. Historically, the deserts of Nevada have always been a place of duality, simultaneously a refuge and a frontier. During the Cold War, vast tracts of land were claimed in secrecy, becoming sites of experimental aircraft and testing grounds shielded from public eyes. While official documents describe restricted zones and military projects in clinical terms, locals often recall a very different atmosphere, the feeling of watching something impossible, of knowing the desert harbored more than just sand and rock. Psychological studies suggest that isolation, combined with vast empty spaces, heightens perception and imagination, creating fertile ground for stories to grow. Yet, even as imagination fills the gaps, there remains a tangible pull, a sense that some mysteries might be rooted in reality. As the first stars begin to appear, glimmering like tiny lanterns scattered across the deep velvet sky, the desert seems to exhale. Each point of light is mirrored in the dark pools of the mind, inviting contemplation and quiet curiosity. The temperature cools gently, the air settling into a comforting embrace, nudging the listener into a state of calm readiness. There is no rush here, no need to seek answers too quickly. Instead, the desert asks only that you observe, that you breathe, and that you allow your mind to wander slowly, like a small stream threading its way between dunes. Even the wildlife seems aware of the quiet, moving with soft purpose through the brush. An owl glides silently overhead, its shadow stretching across the sand, while the distant howl of a coyote echoes briefly, then disappears, leaving the listener with only the gentle rhythm of wind and the heart's own quiet pulse. These moments, ephemeral yet profound, teach a subtle lesson. The world is larger than we often realize, filled with hidden patterns, unknown forces, and soft, unspoken secrets. And it is in this space, balanced between observation and imagination, that the story of Nevada's hidden bases begins, a story that will carry us further into shadowed landscapes, whispered rumors, and the faint glow of mysteries that never fully reveal themselves. Here, the listener can settle deeper into their chair or bed, feeling a sense of calm curiosity. There is a quiet invitation to drift, not into fear, but into wonder, letting the desert and its secrets fold gently into the mind, setting the stage for what lies ahead. Each sound, each shadow, each flicker of imagined movement becomes a thread in the tapestry of this journey, leading into the unknown with steady, comforting rhythm. The desert stillness, however, conceals far more than sand and rock. Beneath the gentle undulations of Nevada's landscape lies a history carefully cloaked in secrecy, a story of restricted zones, classified projects, and the quiet hum of human ambition. Long before the notion of aliens or unexplained phenomena captured popular imagination, the U.S. government recognized the strategic value of these remote expanses. Isolated from populated areas, easily monitored, and bound by natural barriers, the deserts provided a perfect setting for testing aircraft and weapons without interference or observation. Official reports refer to these sites with practical names, designating them as proving grounds or experimental airfields, but those who spent time nearby often sense something more, a hidden pulse beneath the surface. The origins of Nevada's restricted zones trace back to the early Cold War, when the geopolitical landscape of the world was shifting rapidly. Historians note that the fear of foreign surveillance, combined with the drive for technological supremacy, pushed the government to develop facilities where secrecy was paramount. Land acquisitions were often abrupt and undocumented in the public record, creating boundaries that locals only learned of when road signs or fences appeared seemingly overnight. While maps designated these areas as military zones, the reality of what occurred within them remained obscured, giving rise to an almost mythical perception among nearby communities. The interplay between official secrecy and observable activity created fertile ground for stories to emerge, accounts of strange lights, sudden aircraft flyovers, and structures appearing where none had been before. Witnesses often describe an uncanny tension in these landscapes, a sense that the desert itself seemed alive, aware of intrusions and curiosity. Researchers in psychology suggest that such feelings are not purely imagined. Isolation and vast open spaces can heighten sensitivity to environmental cues, causing subtle lights, distant engines, or reflective surfaces to register as extraordinary phenomena. Yet the consistency of many reports across decades challenges the idea that imagination alone explains the experiences. Civilians, security personnel, and pilots alike recount incidents that defy conventional explanation, blending the lines between tangible military activity and events that feel almost otherworldly. The desert, in this sense, functions as both a stage and a mirror, reflecting the anxieties, hopes, and curiosity of those who venture within its borders. By the mid-20th century, the narrative of Nevada's hidden landscapes became intertwined with experimentation in aviation. The skies above the restricted zones were alive with rapid, unmarked aircraft, testing cutting-edge designs in secrecy. Official documents, now partially declassified, detail programs such as high-altitude reconnaissance flights and jet prototypes, yet these dry technical descriptions omit the awe and uncertainty experienced by onlookers. Locals reported crafts moving in impossible patterns, lights that hovered or darted with sudden speed, and hums that resonated through the ground. While some phenomena could be explained as the result of classified aviation projects, many occurrences remained unresolved, fueling whispered speculation and quiet fascination. The psychological effects of secrecy also play a subtle but profound role in these stories. Human beings are naturally drawn to mystery, and when access is restricted or information withheld, the imagination often fills the gaps. Researchers have long noted that communities living near highly restricted areas tend to report more anomalous experiences than those in ordinary rural regions. This pattern is not evidence of fabrication. Rather, it reflects the intricate relationship between perception, environment, and cognition. In Nevada, this interplay was intensified by the starkness of the desert itself. The long nights, the cold winds, the expansive silence, all combined to create a heightened awareness of anomalies, whether natural, mechanical, or otherwise. Cultural memory also plays a role in shaping these perceptions. During the Cold War, media reports about secret experiments and emerging aviation technology were often sensationalized, emphasizing the unknown aspects of military projects. Even as official statements aimed to calm public curiosity, small hints of unusual activity leaked through newspapers, radio broadcasts, and local chatter. Historians note that this delicate balance, between revealing enough to reassure, yet withholding enough to protect security, created an environment where the ordinary and extraordinary coexisted. Locals and visitors alike learned to expect the unexpected, and their stories, passed quietly from one generation to the next, laid the groundwork for the enduring aura of mystery that surrounds Nevada's secret zones today. As twilight deepens into night, the desert seems to settle into a rhythm of its own. Shadows stretch longer, cooled air drifts across dry washes, and the distant glow of isolated buildings hints at hidden activity. It is easy to imagine the movement within, the low hum of engines, the flicker of lights in windows unseen from public roads. For the listener, this is not a place of danger but of gentle fascination, a slow and contemplative introduction to the hidden world that exists parallel to our everyday experience. With every gust of wind and rustle of sand, the listener is reminded that history and mystery often intertwine, and that beneath the quiet surface of Nevada's landscapes lies a story waiting to unfold, one that is measured in both fact and wonder. High above the desert floor, the sky stretches into a vast, seemingly infinite canvas, its deepening hues reflecting the fading light of day. It was into this remote and desolate expanse that one of the most infamous secret sites in modern history quietly took shape, Area 51. Officially a test site for experimental aircraft and high-altitude reconnaissance missions, the base sits hidden within the shadows of the Groom Mountains, a landscape that seems almost deliberately designed to obscure whatever lies within. While government records remain sparse and tightly controlled for decades, the whispers of unusual lights, unexplained noises, and fleeting shadows slowly seeped into public consciousness, giving rise to a narrative that blends aviation history with the inexplicable. Area 51's origins are deeply intertwined with the urgency of Cold War technology. Historians note that by the early 1950s, the United States sought a location remote enough to test aircraft beyond the reach of public scrutiny, yet accessible enough for logistical and military support. The resulting site was selected with precision. Rugged mountains shielded sensitive activities, vast open valleys provided clear airspace, and the natural isolation discouraged curiosity. Within these confines, experimental aircraft such as the U-2 reconnaissance plane and later the State Route 71 Blackbird took to the skies, pushing the boundaries of speed, altitude, and aeronautical engineering. Official reports carefully document the dates, designs, and flight patterns of these craft, yet leave little to describe the astonishment of those who glimpsed them from afar. Witnesses in nearby towns and highways began describing aircraft that defied conventional explanation. They spoke of triangular formations gliding silently overhead, lights that hovered without engines, and shapes that seemed impossibly aerodynamic, performing maneuvers far beyond known aviation capabilities. Pilots, engineers, and local observers often expressed the same sense of awe tinged with unease. The desert's usual calm punctuated by flashes of sudden brilliance and patterns that refused simple explanation. While many of these sightings could eventually be linked to classified test flights, the human mind, particularly in isolated and open environments, tends to record and embellish details, blending observation with imagination. Yet, the consistency of these accounts across decades suggests that something remarkable, whether technological, environmental, or otherwise, was indeed taking place. The cultural ripple effect of Area 51 began almost immediately. Early Cold War media, constrained by both security and sensationalism, hinted at strange developments in Nevada, teasing the public with stories of advanced aircraft and secret experiments. Local lore intertwined with national curiosity, producing a tapestry of reports and rumors that balanced fact and mystery. Ufologists and researchers later traced many of the modern UFO narratives to these early sightings, noting that Area 51 became not merely a testing ground for technology but also a focal point for human fascination with the unknown. The desert, in its quiet vastness, became a stage upon which both the real and the imagined could play their parts. Psychologists studying eyewitness testimony note that encounters in such extreme isolation often amplify perception and memory. The starkness of the Nevada landscape, coupled with long stretches of uninterrupted silence, heightens attention to detail. Small movements, distant lights, and subtle shifts in the air can register in ways that feel profound or otherworldly. In the context of Area 51, these conditions created a unique environment where highly advanced aircraft could appear supernatural, and where stories of strange lights or anomalous shapes could be recounted with both precision and wonder. Even military personnel occasionally described experiences that lingered in the mind long after the tests were concluded, brief glimpses that seemed impossible yet undeniably real. Area 51's secrecy was reinforced not only by geography but also by a careful orchestration of operational security. Restricted zones, high fences, armed patrols, and strict communication protocols ensured that the activities within remained shielded from public scrutiny. These measures, while designed to protect sensitive technology, inadvertently fueled speculation. When official channels provide only vague explanations, the imagination steps in, filling gaps with possibility. Thus, over time, a dual narrative emerged, one rooted in aviation history and the other in the mysterious, unexplained, and sometimes fantastical. The desert itself, silent and unchanging, became a repository for these overlapping stories, absorbing both truth and conjecture. Despite the veil of secrecy, Area 51 gradually entered public consciousness as a symbol of hidden knowledge. Investigative journalists, amateur researchers, and historians pieced together fragments from declassified documents, pilot memoirs, and satellite imagery. They confirmed the existence of sophisticated aircraft programs, the precise nature of certain test flights, and the extraordinary lengths taken to protect national security. Yet, the same research also highlighted the limits of official disclosure. Within the base's boundaries, many activities remained classified, leaving room for continued speculation. This tension between transparency and secrecy became a defining feature of the site, captivating both the curious and the cautious. By the 1970s and 1980s, Area 51 had achieved near-mythical status. Public fascination with UFOs, extraterrestrial life, and government cover-ups coincided with the height of experimental aviation. Films, novels, and television shows drew inspiration from Nevada's secretive deserts, often blending the factual with the imaginative. The desert's emptiness allowed the mind to wander freely, giving rise to narratives that oscillated between plausible military testing and alien encounters. Historians and cultural analysts suggest that this blending of real and imagined phenomena speaks to a fundamental aspect of human curiosity, the desire to explore, to explain, and to marvel at what lies just beyond comprehension. As night falls over the Groom Mountains and the surrounding desert, the landscape settles into quiet, punctuated only by distant hums and the occasional rustle of nocturnal wildlife. Observers from miles away might glimpse a sudden glow, a flicker of movement, or a shadow that disappears almost immediately. In the calm hush, it becomes easy to imagine the experiments within, planes cutting through the upper atmosphere, lights tracing impossible trajectories, and the faint whisper of human ambition shaping the unseen. For the listener, this is not a place of fear, but of contemplative wonder, a gentle invitation to drift deeper into the mysteries that Nevada's secretive skies hold. Area 51 stands as a testament to the complex interplay of reality, perception, and secrecy. It is a site where advanced technology meets human curiosity, where the isolation of the desert amplifies both observation and imagination. In the stillness of night, the desert whispers hints of what has occurred and what may continue to unfold, guiding the listener through history, human ingenuity, and the faint shimmer of unexplained phenomena. It is here, amidst shadowed peaks and silent valleys, that the journey into Nevada's hidden landscapes truly begins, encouraging quiet contemplation and gentle wonder. The desert holds its secrets close, and yet, those who have wandered near its restricted zones often return with stories that linger in the mind long after the sun has dipped below the horizon. Eyewitness accounts form a tapestry of quiet astonishment, moments that, while fleeting, leave an indelible impression. Travelers recount long nights driving along lonely highways, when sudden lights appeared, hovering like lanterns suspended in midair. They describe colors that shifted and shimmered, reds, greens, and brilliant whites that pulsed gently before disappearing entirely. Sometimes the lights moved in patterns that seemed deliberate, almost sentient, as if guiding the observer's attention towards something unseen. These experiences are often paired with a sense of profound stillness, a hush that blankets the desert and magnifies perception, leaving witnesses suspended between reality and wonder. Local residents have long spoken of unusual sounds that ripple through the empty expanses. Low hums that resonate through the soles of shoes, sudden bursts of mechanical whirring, and the occasional sharp crack of distant engines create an auditory landscape that defies easy explanation. Researchers in environmental psychology note that isolated settings heighten the brain's awareness of subtle stimuli. The quiet amplifies every sound, every flicker of light, rendering the ordinary extraordinary. Yet when multiple accounts converge, patterns emerge that cannot be easily dismissed. Farmers, ranchers, and even security personnel stationed near the bases recount sightings that share common characteristics. Craft moving at impossible speeds, shapes that defy conventional aerodynamics, and lights that linger long enough to provoke both awe and curiosity. Some of the most compelling reports come from those trained to observe the sky. Pilots flying near restricted zones recall encounters with objects that seem to challenge known laws of flight. Their testimonies describe sudden accelerations, erratic yet controlled maneuvers, and forms that appear solid yet almost ethereal in their luminosity. These professionals, accustomed to identifying every commercial and military aircraft, often hesitate in their reports, unsure whether what they witnessed belongs to the realm of classified technology or something entirely beyond comprehension. Historians and aviation experts note that while some sightings can later be attributed to test flights of experimental planes, a significant number remain unexplained, reinforcing the enduring allure of the desert's mysteries. Witnesses' perceptions are further shaped by the desert itself. The landscape is stark, its colors muted and ever-shifting with the sun's passage. Long stretches of sand and stone, punctuated by distant ridges and dry washes, create optical effects that can amplify or distort visual experiences. Shadows stretch unnaturally at twilight, and the play of light on rocky surfaces can create illusions of movement. Yet, the consistency of many accounts suggests that something tangible occurs in these remote areas. Researchers studying anomalous phenomena emphasize that while perception is influenced by environment, repeated reports across decades from independent observers indicate that there may be physical events at the root of these experiences. Eyewitnesses often describe moments of heightened emotional clarity during these encounters. Time, they say, seems to stretch or slow. A single event can feel extended, and small details are remembered with remarkable precision. Some report a sense of being watched, a subtle awareness that the desert is not entirely empty, that there is intelligence, human or otherwise, operating quietly beyond the reach of ordinary observation. These psychological impressions add depth to the experiences, giving them a surreal quality that is difficult to capture in words but essential to the narrative. In the quiet, the mind begins to oscillate between understanding and speculation, accepting the known while sensing the unknown. Not all experiences are visual or auditory. Some witnesses speak of subtle shifts in atmosphere, a change in temperature or energy that seems localized and inexplicable. Security personnel recount moments when electronics behaved oddly, instruments flickered, or radios transmitted only static near certain zones. While skeptics often attribute these incidents to natural or technical causes, the frequency and consistency of such reports invite curiosity and caution. Historians suggest that human experience is rarely limited to one sense alone, and that the desert's unique conditions may combine to create moments that feel extraordinary, even when partially explainable by environmental factors. Cultural perspectives also shape how these stories are perceived and remembered. In nearby towns, tales are passed quietly, often told with a hushed reverence, blending observation with speculation. Some families recount generations of strange lights or aircraft sightings, integrating them into local history as normal yet extraordinary occurrences. Anthropologists note that these shared narratives serve to connect individuals to the landscape, creating a collective memory that bridges fact and folklore. The stories are rarely sensational. They are observed, retold, and pondered, a gentle meditation on the boundary between human curiosity and the mysteries that the desert quietly keeps. Despite the passage of decades, the desert continues to inspire awe. Even those who approach it with skepticism often find themselves pausing to observe the night sky, noting the subtle shifts in light or the distant gleam of an unidentifiable object. Some describe an almost meditative state, a deep attentiveness that allows the mind to wander while remaining anchored in observation. It is in these quiet moments that the desert exerts its most profound influence, drawing witnesses into a reflective state where history, science, and mystery intertwine. Every flash of light, every hum or shadow, becomes a thread connecting human perception to the unknown. For listeners, these eyewitness accounts serve not to frighten but to intrigue. Each story is delivered slowly, measured with care, so that the mind can absorb the details without alarm. The desert becomes a companion in this journey, its expansive silence a gentle guide through the experiences of those who ventured close enough to glimpse what others cannot. Through these accounts, one begins to sense the layers of reality in Nevada's secret zones: the official, the experimental, the psychological, and the mysterious. All coexist quietly, woven together by the shared human impulse to observe, wonder, and ponder. As the night deepens, the desert exhales softly, and the stars above cast their reflective glow over the silent sands. The echoes of past encounters linger faintly in the mind, neither fully explained nor forgotten. In this liminal space between awareness and imagination, the listener is encouraged to settle further into calm, allowing curiosity to drift gently alongside relaxation. Each narrative, each sighting, and each whisper of the desert becomes part of the tapestry of Nevada's hidden mysteries, preparing the mind for the next layer of exploration, the tangible traces left behind in documents, reports, and declassified files, waiting patiently for discovery. Beyond the carefully cataloged files and measured accounts of pilots, engineers, and security personnel, the Nevada desert has inspired speculation that stretches into the extraordinary. Alternative and paranormal theories have long flourished alongside documented events, forming a subtle yet persistent layer of intrigue. Researchers and historians note that when official explanations are limited or absent, the human mind naturally searches for patterns, for meaning beyond the immediately observable. In the context of Nevada's secret bases, these theories often explore the possibility that something entirely unknown might intersect with human activity, a notion both captivating and soothing in its mystery. Among the most enduring ideas is that of extraterrestrial involvement. Some ufologists suggest that the unusual aerial phenomena witnessed over restricted zones could indicate encounters with craft of unknown origin, rather than experimental aircraft alone. Reports of lights that hover silently for extended periods, triangular-shaped objects, and sudden accelerations that seem to defy physics form the backbone of these claims. While skeptics argue that most sightings can be attributed to advanced aviation technology, the persistence and consistency of certain accounts, especially from trained observers, continues to spark curiosity. The desert, vast and isolated, provides the perfect canvas for such speculation, encouraging imagination to drift gently alongside reason. Another layer of alternative theory involves psychic or consciousness-related phenomena. Certain witnesses describe a sense of heightened awareness near specific locations, experiences of sudden insight, or subtle shifts in perception when in proximity to restricted zones. Psychologists studying the human response to isolation and secrecy suggest that these sensations may reflect a natural amplification of sensory processing, combined with the quiet introspection that long stretches of desert invite. Yet some theorists interpret these experiences as evidence that Nevada's landscapes interact with human consciousness in ways that remain unexplained. Whether through natural phenomena or something more elusive, these stories contribute to the quiet, lingering sense of wonder that defines the region. Time and space itself have become part of the speculative narrative. Some researchers propose that anomalous gravitational or electromagnetic effects could occasionally alter perception, making objects appear to accelerate suddenly or vanish altogether. Eyewitnesses recount brief disorientation during encounters, moments when time seemed to slow or lengthen, leaving them unsure of duration or sequence. While conventional science offers potential explanations, mirages, optical illusions, or perceptual distortion, the notion of temporal anomalies adds an ethereal layer to the stories, blending fact and theory in a way that is both calming and intriguing. The mind is invited to linger in these possibilities, aware of reality yet gently entertained by the edges of imagination. Cultural and historical context further enriches these alternative perspectives. Folklore from nearby towns, stories passed down through generations, and popular media have all contributed to the perception of the desert as a place where the extraordinary can unfold. Local narratives often describe sudden lights in the sky, mysterious sounds, and fleeting shapes that vanish before being fully observed. Over time, these accounts were reinforced by television, film, and literature, creating a subtle feedback loop between real experiences and collective imagination. Scholars argue that this interplay between documented events and cultural storytelling helps maintain a calm sense of fascination rather than fear, allowing listeners to explore mystery while remaining grounded. Some theories explore the intersection of advanced human technology and the unknown. Certain ufologists and researchers suggest that experimental craft tested in Nevada may have employed technologies that seemed impossible to onlookers, from silent propulsion systems to radar-defying designs. Observers unfamiliar with such advancements interpreted these craft as otherworldly, blending technological reality with speculative imagination. The desert, in this sense, becomes a bridge between human ingenuity and the uncharted, a quiet space where the known and unknown converge. The listener, guided through these theories, experiences the thrill of discovery in a way that is contemplative rather than alarming, like walking softly alongside a hidden world. Despite the speculative nature of these ideas, credibility is maintained through careful framing. Researchers emphasize phrases such as "some witnesses reported" or "certain observers noted," balancing imaginative possibilities with the recognition of what is verifiable. This approach allows the audience to drift into curiosity without the tension of fear or sensationalism. The desert, under the stars, provides a gentle rhythm for these narratives, each story unfolding slowly, measured with care, and inviting reflection. As the mind absorbs these possibilities, it begins to appreciate the quiet harmony between the real and the imagined, understanding that mystery does not require resolution to be meaningful. For the listener, this section offers a meditative journey through possibility. The desert's stillness and isolation encourage contemplation, allowing the mind to wander along theoretical threads. The idea that some lights might not belong to this world, that perception may bend under the influence of isolation, or that advanced technology can mimic phenomena that feel paranormal. Each idea is presented softly, in the same pace as a whispering wind across the dunes, inviting curiosity without urgency. Slowly, a sense of calm fascination emerges, blending knowledge and speculation, allowing the desert and its mysteries to settle gently into the listener's imagination. As the night deepens, the desert becomes a repository for both history and imagination. Shadows stretch across the dunes, illuminated occasionally by the faint glow of distant installations or the slow movement of stars overhead. In this quiet space, the listener is encouraged to consider the infinite possibilities that lie just beyond understanding. The interplay of human ingenuity, unexplained phenomena, and cultural storytelling creates a layered, soothing rhythm, preparing the mind for the next chapter of the journey. How these stories have permeated culture, folklore, and the collective imagination, leaving an enduring mark on both local communities and the wider world. The mysteries of Nevada's secret bases do not exist in isolation. Over decades, they have seeped into the fabric of culture, inspiring stories, legends, films, and even quiet conversations shared under the glow of porch lights in desert towns. Residents who have lived near restricted zones often tell tales with a hushed reverence, blending eyewitness accounts with folklore passed down through generations. The desert, with its endless horizon and shifting shadows, becomes not only a physical location but also a canvas for human imagination. The stories it inspires range from technical fascination with experimental aircraft to whimsical speculation about extraterrestrial life, forming a rich cultural tapestry that continues to evolve. Hollywood and the broader media have long drawn inspiration from Nevada's secretive landscapes. Beginning in the mid-20th century, films and television shows began exploring themes of alien visitation, government cover-ups, and experimental technology, often set against stark desert backdrops. Historians of media note that early portrayals, though sometimes exaggerated, drew heavily from the real-world secrecy surrounding Area 51 and other bases. The blending of truth and fiction created a narrative space where viewers could imagine the extraordinary while remaining grounded in the desert's unmistakable reality. This cultural reflection reinforces the psychological pull of the desert itself, inviting curiosity without fear and encouraging audiences to drift into wonder. Folklore in nearby communities similarly reflects the interplay between lived experience and imagination. Local legends often recount sightings of strange lights, sudden aircraft maneuvers, or inexplicable sounds, stories that are retold quietly over meals or around evening fires. Anthropologists suggest that these narratives serve multiple purposes, preserving memory, strengthening communal bonds, and providing a framework for understanding the unknown. Importantly, these stories are rarely sensationalized. They are observed, pondered, and respected, allowing listeners to engage with mystery in a contemplative, almost meditative manner. In this way, cultural memory merges seamlessly with real events, creating a layered narrative that deepens the desert's allure. The desert's influence also extends into literature. Novels, short stories, and speculative nonfiction often explore themes of secrecy, hidden technology, and alien encounters, frequently drawing from Nevada's enigmatic landscapes. Writers examine the tension between official accounts and anecdotal reports, inviting readers to consider the gaps, the inconsistencies, and the human fascination with the unknown. Through these works, the desert becomes more than a setting. It transforms into a character itself, embodying silence, secrecy, and possibility. This literary attention reinforces the region's mystique, shaping collective imagination and embedding the desert's hidden corners into the broader cultural consciousness. Music, visual art, and even gaming have also reflected the influence of Nevada's secret zones. Composers create ethereal soundscapes that evoke the quiet isolation of the desert, while painters depict vast landscapes punctuated by mysterious lights or angular structures. Video games and interactive media draw upon local legends, crafting virtual deserts where players can explore secret installations and encounter phenomena inspired by eyewitness accounts. In each instance, the cultural interpretation remains calm and contemplative, emphasizing curiosity, exploration, and imagination over fear or alarm. The desert continues to inspire creators to depict the unknown in ways that are both soothing and thought-provoking, maintaining the delicate balance between intrigue and serenity. This cultural influence has a subtle feedback loop with real-world observation. As films, books, and media stories circulate, they shape expectations, heighten awareness, and sometimes even influence the details that witnesses notice or remember. Historians and psychologists note that this does not necessarily diminish credibility. Rather, it highlights the human tendency to integrate personal experience with cultural context. The desert, therefore, operates on multiple levels simultaneously, as a site of secretive activity, a source of anecdotal experience, and a wellspring of collective imagination. Each layer enriches the others, producing a quiet, immersive narrative that invites reflection, wonder, and gentle curiosity. For the listener, this section offers a moment of calm exploration. By considering how Nevada's secret bases have influenced culture, one gains a sense of continuity, a connection between human perception, storytelling, and imagination. The desert is not only a witness to past events but also an active participant in the stories we tell about it, shaping myths, legends, and cultural memory in ways that feel natural, gentle, and inviting. Each film, novel, or whispered story becomes a reflection of the desert's quiet power, its ability to captivate and intrigue without ever forcing answers. As night deepens and the stars shine overhead, the listener can imagine the desert as both real and symbolic, a place where secrecy, observation, and human creativity converge. The quiet rhythms of sand and wind, the faint hum of distant machinery, and the soft glimmer of light on distant ridges all reinforce a sense of calm mystery. Nevada's secret bases, in this way, extend beyond their physical boundaries, becoming part of our cultural landscape, a reminder that human curiosity and imagination are as enduring as the desert itself. In this space, the mind is free to wander slowly, to consider history, mystery, and art simultaneously, and to drift gently into contemplation as the story continues to unfold. The mysteries of Nevada's secret bases do not exist in isolation. Over decades, they have seeped into the fabric of culture, inspiring stories, legends, films, and even quiet conversations shared under the glow of porch lights in desert towns. Residents who have lived near restricted zones often tell tales with a hushed reverence, blending eyewitness accounts with folklore passed down through generations. The desert, with its endless horizon and shifting shadows, becomes not only a physical location but also a canvas for human imagination. The stories it inspires range from technical fascination with experimental aircraft to whimsical speculation about extraterrestrial life, forming a rich cultural tapestry that continues to evolve. Hollywood and the broader media have long drawn inspiration from Nevada's secretive landscapes. Beginning in the mid-20th century, films and television shows began exploring themes of alien visitation, government cover-ups, and experimental technology, often set against stark desert backdrops. Historians of media note that early portrayals, though sometimes exaggerated, drew heavily from the real-world secrecy surrounding Area 51 and other bases. The blending of truth and fiction created a narrative space where viewers could imagine the extraordinary while remaining grounded in the desert's unmistakable reality. This cultural reflection reinforces the psychological pull of the desert itself, inviting curiosity without fear and encouraging audiences to drift into wonder. Folklore in nearby communities similarly reflects the interplay between lived experience and imagination. Local legends often recount sightings of strange lights, sudden aircraft maneuvers, or inexplicable sounds, stories that are retold quietly over meals or around evening fires. Anthropologists suggest that these narratives serve multiple purposes: preserving memory, strengthening communal bonds, and providing a framework for understanding the unknown. Importantly, these stories are rarely sensationalized. They are observed, pondered, and respected, allowing listeners to engage with mystery in a contemplative, almost meditative manner. In this way, cultural memory merges seamlessly with real events, creating a layered narrative that deepens the desert's allure. The desert's influence also extends into literature. Novels, short stories, and speculative nonfiction often explore themes of secrecy, hidden technology, and alien encounters, frequently drawing from Nevada's enigmatic landscapes. Writers examine the tension between official accounts and anecdotal reports, inviting readers to consider the gaps, the inconsistencies, and the human fascination with the unknown. Through these works, the desert becomes more than a setting. It transforms into a character itself, embodying silence, secrecy, and possibility. This literary attention reinforces the region's mystique, shaping collective imagination and embedding the desert's hidden corners into the broader cultural consciousness. Music, visual art, and even gaming have also reflected the influence of Nevada's secret zones. Composers create ethereal soundscapes that evoke the quiet isolation of the desert, while painters depict vast landscapes punctuated by mysterious lights or angular structures. Video games and interactive media draw upon local legends, crafting virtual deserts where players can explore secret installations and encounter phenomena inspired by eyewitness accounts. In each instance, the cultural interpretation remains calm and contemplative, emphasizing curiosity, exploration, and imagination over fear or alarm. The desert continues to inspire creators to depict the unknown in ways that are both soothing and thought-provoking, maintaining the delicate balance between intrigue and serenity. This cultural influence has a subtle feedback loop with real-world observation. As films, books, and media stories circulate, they shape expectations, heighten awareness, and sometimes even influence the details that witnesses notice or remember. Historians and psychologists note that this does not necessarily diminish credibility. Rather, it highlights the human tendency to integrate personal experience with cultural context. The desert, therefore, operates on multiple levels simultaneously, as a site of secretive activity, a source of anecdotal experience, and a wellspring of collective imagination. Each layer enriches the others, producing a quiet, immersive narrative that invites reflection, wonder, and gentle curiosity. For the listener, this section offers a moment of calm exploration. By considering how Nevada's secret bases have influenced culture, one gains a sense of continuity, a connection between human perception, storytelling, and imagination. The desert is not only a witness to past events but also an active participant in the stories we tell about it, shaping myths, legends, and cultural memory in ways that feel natural, gentle, and inviting. Each film, novel, or whispered story becomes a reflection of the desert's quiet power, its ability to captivate and intrigue without ever forcing answers. As night deepens and the stars shine overhead, the listener can imagine the desert as both real and symbolic, a place where secrecy, observation, and human creativity converge. The quiet rhythms of sand and wind, the faint hum of distant machinery, and the soft glimmer of light on distant ridges all reinforce a sense of calm mystery. Nevada's secret bases, in this way, extend beyond their physical boundaries, becoming part of our cultural landscape, a reminder that human curiosity and imagination are as enduring as the desert itself. In this space, the mind is free to wander slowly, to consider history, mystery, and art simultaneously, and to drift gently into contemplation as the story continues to unfold. Even decades after the earliest whispers of secret activity, the Nevada desert continues to draw attention from researchers, journalists, and curious observers. Modern investigations blend careful scientific methodology with historical research, satellite imagery, and first-hand accounts, offering a fresh lens through which to examine these enduring mysteries. Unlike the isolated reports of past decades, today's investigations are often multidisciplinary, combining expertise in aviation, physics, psychology, and geography. This approach allows for a measured, thoughtful exploration of phenomena that were once shrouded entirely in secrecy, encouraging the listener to drift into curiosity without tension or fear. One avenue of contemporary research focuses on analyzing high-resolution satellite imagery of the region. Publicly accessible satellites, combined with declassified aerial photographs, provide unprecedented perspectives on remote areas once off-limits to civilians. Observers study road networks, perimeter fencing, and building layouts, noting patterns that suggest advanced experimentation, yet remaining cautious not to overinterpret anomalies. Scientists emphasize the need to balance observation with restraint, acknowledging the limits of visual data while remaining open to subtle clues. These studies reveal the remarkable scale of the installations, the precision of construction, and the careful integration of facilities into the natural landscape, reinforcing the sense of deliberate planning and meticulous attention to security. Ground investigations, while more challenging due to access restrictions, offer another layer of insight. Researchers traveling to nearby regions document environmental traces, interview longtime residents, and cross-reference anecdotal reports with available records. In doing so, they gather a rich mosaic of information, blending natural observation with human experience. For instance, accounts of unusual lights and sounds often correspond with specific geographic features: isolated ridges, valleys that channel sound, or clear vantage points offering broad views of the desert. Psychologists and environmental scientists note that these conditions naturally heighten awareness, creating an ideal setting for both genuine anomaly observation and perceptual amplification, a subtle dance between reality and interpretation. Contemporary ufologists and investigative teams often combine these approaches, seeking correlations between declassified documents, eyewitness testimony, and physical geography. They track flight paths, analyze radar anomalies, and reconstruct historical events with meticulous attention to detail. Even when events remain unexplained, the rigor of investigation lends credibility and depth to each account. Some studies have focused on electromagnetic disturbances reported in proximity to certain test sites, exploring whether these phenomena could relate to classified technology or natural environmental effects. While definitive conclusions are rare, the combination of historical records and scientific inquiry paints a picture of a desert alive with both human ingenuity and persistent mystery. Technological advances also play a role in modern investigation. Drones, high-resolution cameras, and infrared imaging allow researchers to observe areas previously inaccessible or hidden from public view. These tools can reveal unexpected activity, lights, vehicle movement, and structural details, but they often raise more questions than answers, highlighting the continued tension between transparency and secrecy. Analysts emphasize careful interpretation, mindful of optical illusions, atmospheric conditions, and natural phenomena that can mimic extraordinary events. The desert, in this way, maintains its role as both a subject of study and a subtle guide, quietly reminding observers of the limits of perception and the allure of the unknown. Public engagement has also shifted the landscape of investigation. Social media, online forums, and citizen science initiatives allow enthusiasts to share observations, compare notes, and analyze satellite imagery collaboratively. While this democratization of research can lead to misinformation if unchecked, it also fosters a calm, methodical approach when guided by critical thinking. Collective observation allows patterns to emerge across large temporal and geographic scales, offering insights that might elude individual researchers. The desert becomes a shared space, experienced not only in solitude but also in the collective imagination of those who study and reflect on its secrets. Historians emphasize that modern investigations are grounded in the same principles that have long guided exploration: careful observation, meticulous documentation, and respect for the unknown. Each new finding, whether a previously unexamined document, a satellite image, or a credible eyewitness account, adds texture to the story without demanding definitive answers. The listener, guided through this layer of the narrative, is encouraged to embrace the subtle tension between certainty and possibility. The calm rhythm of observation mirrors the gentle cadence of the desert itself, with patterns emerging slowly, revealing glimpses of hidden activity while leaving room for wonder. Some contemporary studies also explore the psychological and social dimensions of these investigations. Researchers examine how secrecy, isolation, and media representation influence both witnesses and investigators. They note that awareness of the region's history shapes perception, subtly guiding attention toward anomalies that might otherwise go unnoticed. This does not diminish the credibility of reports. Rather, it emphasizes the delicate interplay between environment, expectation, and observation. Listeners are invited to consider not only the phenomena themselves but also the human context in which these experiences unfold, a subtle, reflective layer that deepens engagement with the narrative. In essence, Modern investigations transform the desert into a living archive, one where history, science, and mystery converge. The landscape holds traces of past experiments, the echoes of eyewitness experiences, and the quiet pulse of ongoing observation. The listener can imagine teams of researchers scanning the horizon at twilight, comparing notes under the faint glow of distant lights, and recording every detail with calm attention. Each observation adds a brushstroke to the broader picture, capturing both human ingenuity and the persistent enigma of Nevada's secret bases. As night settles over the desert, the gentle rhythm of investigation mirrors the natural cadence of the environment. Stars reflect softly on the sandy expanse, wind stirs through dry brush, and the mind drifts alongside the careful work of researchers, observing without urgency. Modern investigations, though methodical and disciplined, maintain a sense of quiet wonder, allowing the listener to explore mystery alongside evidence. The desert, both historical and contemporary, becomes a space of reflection, curiosity, and calm engagement, a place where unanswered questions are not a source of fear but an invitation to linger, to wonder, and to imagine. As the night deepens over the Nevada desert, the mind begins to settle into a rhythm attuned to quiet observation. The secrets of the land, the echoes of experimental aircraft, the flickering lights in distant skies, and the whispers of stories passed down through generations all blend into a tapestry of calm intrigue. Reflection invites the listener to pause and consider not only the phenomena themselves but also the subtle ways they ripple through human perception, culture, and imagination. This is a moment to sit quietly with wonder, allowing both the seen and unseen to coexist in the mind without demand for explanation. The enduring mysteries of Nevada's secret bases persist because they exist at the intersection of the known and unknown. Decades of documented activity, declassified reports, eyewitness testimonies, and scientific investigations provide a foundation of reality. Pilots recall unusual craft maneuvering at impossible speeds. Engineers note the construction of aircraft capable of extraordinary performance. Security personnel describe fleeting lights and sounds that defy ordinary explanation. Yet even with meticulous records, gaps remain, and it is precisely in these gaps that imagination gently flourishes. Historians suggest that uncertainty, carefully balanced, is not a source of fear but a catalyst for reflection, allowing the mind to drift calmly between observation and speculation. Time itself feels different in these quiet deserts. For those who have spent hours alone on a ridge or beside a quiet wash, the rhythm of night encourages patience, slowing perception to match the subtle cadence of the land. Shadows stretch long, stars trace their slow arcs overhead, and distant lights shimmer with the faintest hint of movement. Witnesses often describe moments when seconds seem to stretch, when minor anomalies, lights, reflections, or hums take on amplified significance. Psychologists note that prolonged attention in serene, isolated environments can heighten sensitivity to subtle changes, fostering experiences that feel extraordinary without being alarming. The desert, in this way, becomes both a teacher and a companion, guiding reflection and deepening curiosity. Human response to mystery is as enduring as the landscape itself. Researchers in social and cultural psychology observe that communities near secretive areas often incorporate local anomalies into collective memory, blending factual observations with narrative storytelling. Over time, these stories become both historical record and cultural fabric, reinforcing a sense of wonder and reverence. Residents speak quietly of lights dancing on the horizon, hums resonating through sand and stone, and the fleeting shapes of aircraft performing maneuvers beyond comprehension. These reflections are rarely sensationalized. They are observed, remembered, and retold with gentle attention, allowing the listener to inhabit the calm space between reality and imagination. The philosophical dimension of these mysteries invites contemplation of human curiosity and ingenuity. The advanced aircraft, radar anomalies, and experimental programs that took place in Nevada reflect not only technological ambition but also an enduring desire to explore, to push boundaries, and to witness the extraordinary. At the same time, unexplained phenomena, whether they are unidentified aerial lights, fleeting shadows, or subtle shifts in perception, serve as reminders that there is always more to discover. Listeners are encouraged to embrace this balance, understanding that the world is both knowable and unknowable, and that some mysteries exist precisely to invite quiet reflection rather than immediate resolution. In this reflective space, the desert's physical qualities enhance the experience. Vast open plains, rugged ridges, and empty washes act as natural amplifiers of both sound and sight. The faint rustle of wind through dry brush, the distant cry of nocturnal animals, and the gentle hum of unseen machinery all contribute to a sensory environment that encourages introspection. Even the temperature, cooling slowly after sunset, reminds the observer of the passage of time and the impermanence of any single moment. Historians and environmental scientists alike note that these factors can make the ordinary feel extraordinary, particularly in areas where human presence is limited and the mind is free to wander slowly, gently, and without urgency. Cultural reflection deepens the contemplative experience. From films to literature to music, Nevada's secret bases have inspired generations of creators to explore themes of secrecy, discovery, and the unknown. These interpretations, while imaginative, echo real experiences, weaving a narrative thread that connects human creativity with tangible phenomena. The desert, in this sense, functions as both a literal and symbolic landscape, a place where observation, imagination, and culture intersect. For the listener, this creates a layered experience, one in which stories, history, and reflection merge, inviting a calm, meditative engagement with the unknown. Even the most mundane observations can become moments of quiet revelation. Watching the slow movement of stars across the sky, noting distant lights flickering on the horizon, or sensing subtle vibrations in the earth can evoke the same sense of awe that once accompanied fleeting sightings of advanced aircraft. The mind, attuned to these gentle rhythms, begins to perceive patterns and connections without demanding explanation. In this way, the desert teaches patience, inviting listeners to inhabit uncertainty with grace, to let curiosity unfold naturally, and to experience wonder as an enduring companion rather than a fleeting thrill. The reflection extends beyond the individual. Communities, researchers, and enthusiasts all contribute to a shared understanding of Nevada's secret landscapes. Each account, document, and cultural artifact adds a layer of meaning, building a narrative that is both personal and collective. This interplay of perspectives emphasizes that mysteries are not merely external phenomena, they are experiences shaped by human perception, history, and imagination. By engaging with these reflections slowly and attentively, the listener is guided into a calm, contemplative state, absorbing both the factual and speculative dimensions of the desert's enduring enigmas. Ultimately, Section 9 serves as a bridge to quiet contemplation. The listener is encouraged to linger in the desert's vastness, to absorb its rhythms, and to consider the interplay of reality, imagination, and culture. Each flicker of light, each distant hum, and each whispered story becomes part of an intricate tapestry, one that invites deep reflection without urgency. In this serene space, the Nevada desert continues to hold its secrets, guiding the mind gently through mystery, history, and wonder, leaving a sense of calm curiosity that lingers long after the story has been told. As the desert night stretches endlessly, the mind settles into a rhythm that mirrors the subtle cadence of the land itself. The Nevada sky, vast and unbroken, reveals stars that shimmer quietly above ridges and dunes, each point of light a reminder of the universe's immense scale. In this serene expanse, the secrets of the region, both documented and speculative, linger in gentle resonance, inviting reflection, curiosity, and wonder. Listeners are encouraged to drift into this quiet space, where the extraordinary unfolds not with urgency, but with the soft patience of the desert itself. Having explored the history, eyewitness accounts, official documents, alternative theories, cultural reflections, and modern investigations, it is now time to consider the deeper meaning of these mysteries. Why do Nevada's secret bases hold such enduring fascination? Part of the answer lies in the interplay between visibility and concealment. Advanced aircraft, classified projects, and restricted zones are deliberately shielded from the public eye, creating a tension between what is known and what is unseen. Humans, naturally curious and attuned to patterns, are drawn to this tension, filling gaps with imagination, speculation, and quiet wonder. The desert amplifies this experience, its vastness and isolation offering a canvas upon which curiosity can roam freely, unhurried, and undisturbed. Reflection also encourages the listener to consider the human aspect behind the secrecy. Engineers, pilots, scientists, and security personnel have worked within these landscapes for decades, their labor, ingenuity, and discipline contributing to achievements that often remain unseen. Flight logs meticulously recorded, experimental aircraft designed to push the limits of aeronautics, and research conducted under strict confidentiality all speak to the extraordinary capabilities of human innovation. These accomplishments, while rooted in reality, appear almost magical when viewed from the perspective of those outside the inner circles, merging technical mastery with the intangible quality of wonder. Yet the mysteries extend beyond human endeavor. Unexplained lights, fleeting shapes, and anomalous sounds continue to intrigue observers and investigators alike. Some remain skeptics, seeking rational explanations in atmospheric phenomena, optical illusions, or classified technology. Others embrace the possibility that certain occurrences defy contemporary understanding, hinting at dimensions or phenomena not yet fully explored. The beauty of this interplay is that it requires no definitive resolution. Mystery is experienced not as a problem to solve, but as a space in which the mind can wander slowly, absorbing nuance, contemplating patterns, and embracing the quiet thrill of the unknown. The desert itself becomes an essential character in this final reflection. Its silence is not empty. It is filled with the soft whispers of wind across dunes, the gentle creak of distant structures, and the subtle rustle of nocturnal wildlife. Shadows stretch and recede with the shifting moonlight, creating fleeting shapes that invite observation and contemplation. Stars wheel overhead in steady arcs, their slow, deliberate movement a comforting reminder of time's rhythm. Every sensory detail, scent, sound, sight, and temperature, encourages the listener to slow their own awareness, matching the calm, deliberate cadence of the land. In doing so, the mind becomes attuned to both reality and imagination, allowing mysteries to linger gently rather than pressing urgently for explanation. Cultural and historical reflection enhances this sense of calm fascination. Nevada's secret bases, their influence on folklore, literature, film, and collective imagination demonstrate how human curiosity finds expression across multiple layers of experience. Stories of unexplained lights and aircraft are preserved not only in documents or testimonies but also in community memory and artistic interpretation. Each film, novel, and creative work builds upon the same foundation of wonder and speculation, weaving a rich tapestry that connects generations, bridging the gap between personal observation and shared culture. For the listener, this realization reinforces the enduring nature of curiosity itself, a quiet, persistent force that invites contemplation, reflection, and gentle awe. Modern investigations further enrich this reflective space. Researchers, historians, and enthusiasts bring together satellite imagery, declassified documents, eyewitness accounts, and scientific observation, creating a multidimensional view of the region. Even when questions remain unanswered, the act of careful study fosters calm engagement, encouraging patience and thoughtful consideration. Observers note subtle patterns in flight paths, radar anomalies, and environmental factors, each detail a brushstroke in the larger portrait of Nevada's secret landscapes. Importantly, these investigations proceed without sensationalism, emphasizing measured curiosity over alarm, and reinforcing the sense that mystery can coexist with knowledge in a balanced, meditative way. For the listener, this final section is designed to blend intrigue with relaxation. Each element, the desert, the bases, the eyewitness stories, the official documents, the cultural reflections, and modern investigations, forms a layer of calm exploration. Listeners are invited to drift slowly through these layers, absorbing details, imagining possibilities, and settling into a state of quiet curiosity. This approach mirrors the gentle ebb of night in the desert, where each shift of light and shadow, each distant flicker, and each subtle sound encourages attentive observation without urgency or fear. The mind, like the desert, is free to explore, wonder, and rest simultaneously. The philosophical dimension of this reflection is subtle but profound. Mystery, by its very nature, encourages contemplation rather than action. The unknown sparks imagination, invites humility, and deepens appreciation for both human ingenuity and the vastness of the world beyond immediate perception. In Nevada's deserts, with their secret bases and unexplained phenomena, this principle is manifest. Reality, speculation, history, and imagination coexist in a quiet, harmonious balance. The listener, gently guided through decades of events and stories, experiences a form of meditative engagement, where questions are welcomed but answers are not demanded. As the narrative winds down, attention turns to the sensation of presence. The listener can imagine standing on a quiet ridge, feeling the cool night air, hearing the faint hum of distant machinery, and observing lights that dance across the horizon. There is no rush, no need to fully understand. The desert itself offers patience and calm. Each story, observation, and reflection becomes a gentle companion in this experience, encouraging the mind to explore without tension and to rest in the quiet majesty of an environment both real and symbolic. Finally, the journey concludes with a sense of continuity. Nevada's secret bases, their hidden histories, and the stories woven around them do not end with this exploration. They remain quietly as they have for decades, waiting in the desert, in documents, in folklore, and in imagination. The listener is left with a sense of gentle closure, an understanding that mystery is not a puzzle to solve immediately, but a companion for reflection, curiosity, and calm contemplation. The quiet desert night, filled with stars, shadows, and possibilities, becomes a space for the mind to rest, to wander, and to drift slowly into sleep. In this serene conclusion, the desert whispers one final invitation: to wonder without urgency, to explore without fear, and to embrace the unknown with quiet attentiveness. Lights in the sky, echoes of experimental craft, cultural narratives, and modern investigations all merge into a single, calm narrative thread. Listeners are encouraged to settle deeper into their own awareness, allowing curiosity, imagination, and relaxation to coexist in perfect harmony. The Nevada desert, timeless and enigmatic, has revealed its stories gently, offering both intrigue and serenity, a final lullaby of mystery, history, and wonder.